Welcome to a special countdown episode of The Horror with Nate
and Mike.
Up until now, we've only counted down titles. Tonight, we're going to look at Final Girls, one of the most enduring and beloved tropes in the genre. Transcends any sort of, they're mostly known for slasher movies, but Final Girls are in all kinds of...
Well, that actually brings up an interesting thing. Just to file it down, I chose slasher Final Girls. Just as a way to file it down a bit. So those are mine.
I think I've got one on my list. Actually, my number 5 is the only one that doesn't come from a slasher movie.
What's your number 5?
Sarah from The Descent.
Right, yeah, okay.
The Neil Marshall movie in which a group of female spelunkers get trapped in an underground cave-in. The deeper they go, the more they realize that they're not alone down there.
Right.
It's an all-female cast, other than maybe the gross things in the darkness, I won't say. Mm-hmm. And Sarah is, she ends up being the final girl. And
right.
She's a good actress, she's sympathetic, and she can kick some ass when she needs to.
Sure.
Big fan of The Descent, and I thought she was amazing in it. One of my all-time favorites.
Right on. One of the cool things I heard about The Descent is somebody related it to, it's the female deliverance.
Mm-hmm.
But,
yeah, I can see that.
And then there's the whole, whatever, as you go deeper into blah, blah, blah. Right on. Okay, so my number 5 is Amy Steele, Ginny from Friday the 13th Part 2. She made her way on here because, 1, she's one of my favorite final girls, and 2, she's also the final girl in April Fool's Day.
Right.
So, Amy Steele altogether as an actress, Ginny takes the cake, whatever. Yeah, Ginny from Friday the 13th Part 2.
Before I address that, let me say that she is my number 4 pick.
Ah, nice.
She's my favorite final girl from the entire Friday the 13th series.
Yeah, she's the most resourceful.
And there's a naturalness
but she's
about
also
her.
the most vulnerable.
And she gets proactive instead of trying to chop Jason's head off. She tries to psychology his ass.
Right.
So I love Ginny.
Yeah, Ginny.
And she's also, for most of the same reasons, for her personality, she's great in April Fool's Day as well.
Yeah.
That was my number 4.
That's cool. We got to combine those two. So I guess I'll go with my number 4.
Your number 4.
And here we kind of start getting into another way that I filed these down. This is one that fits into that file down system of when you have all these great final girls and you get to these ones that are pretty like airtight. Mm-hmm. It's which one has like survived the longest and done their fucking
criteria.
Job the longest. So that brings me to number 4, Laurie Strode from Halloween. I'm also going to count Scout Taylor Compton from Halloween 1 and 2, Rob Zombies.
Okay.
So, but as just Laurie Strode, she survived 3 of them, years of it. 2, I don't think she's proactive enough in 2. She's not really even proactive in 1, but at least she's babysitting the kids, so that gives her a really good like engine.
Right.
Of she could have just run the fuck away. Then H2O, she gets pretty badass for whatever. That movie came out at a bad time for me with all the other slashers and Varsity Blues. Pretty badass in that one. It was nice to see her again in Resurrection, but whatever. And then, she's taken over by Scout Taylor Compton in 1, who's kind of, you can take her or leave her. But I really liked Laurie in 2. Laurie in 2 really transgresses Final Girl to become something much different than we've seen Final Girls ever really follow through to be. Sally from Chainsaw Massacre starts to show signs of it, but Laurie goes full on this kind of thing, and I thought that was really cool. So number 4, Laurie Strode.
And to segue beautifully, my number 3, Sally Hardesty from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
There you go.
Who you just name-checked. Sally runs, and Sally screams.
You sound like a kid's book.
and this is what Sally does.
Yeah. That's why she didn't make mine.
She's in no way proactive, but most of the final girls on my list wouldn't win a fist fight. They're just survivors, and Sally does survive. She makes my list because through all the running and screaming and fear, You know, there's that great scene around the dinner table where she loses her mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like, slasher movies rarely address the psychological impact of such things.
Right.
Either you live or you die, you get a hand cut off or something.
Right.
But then, ultimately, probably, you're going to end with a shot of said person wrapped in a blanket in the back of a police cruiser or ambulance being taken care of, and everything's okay because they're alive.
Right.
Sally is not okay. She will never be okay. So that trauma, that insanity, that puts her at number 3 on my list.
Yeah. Quick side note is Halloween 2, that's why I think it is such a great movie, is because it's one of the only slashers to address the morning after, what happens to people.
Yeah.
Really good movie. Yeah, but Sally didn't make the list because, one, she's only been in one, and she isn't really proactive. She really does just run and scream. But, I mean, I love Sally because Sally, like everything in the movie, doesn't feel like she's acting.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just amazing. And just her image, the image she cuts, is probably one of my favorite horror images.
Right.
So, yeah, Sally, pretty great. So that was your 3 that I name-checked. My number 3, this is the newest one on the list, but the most badass, by far, is Erin from Your Next.
Yeah, I was thinking she was probably going to be your number 1. I'm kind of surprised it's number 3.
Yeah, well, too new, man. Too new.
Right.
But I was surprised. In a different universe, it is number 1, because she is fucking badass.
She is badass.
Mm-hmm. In every single way, it's surprising how good of an actress this chick is. It's surprising how physical she is. Everything she does is mostly surprising after the first 25 minutes. She's just completely resourceful, has a great sense of humor. Erin is a fucking force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, she can...
And never poses as tough girl either.
She can bring the violence.
Yeah, she's like the female John McClane. She takes a fucking licking, doesn't get all tough girl, never, like I said, poses and is like, ha ha ha, and like mocks people. This girl just gets punched, knocked through, jumps through windows, pulls glass out, and runs back to get some more. Fucking awesome.
Female John McClane. Great way to say that.
Yep. Number 3, Erin from Your Next.
Number 2 on my list, which was almost number 1, Laurie Strode. Because, and specifically the Jamie Lee Curtis Laurie Strode from Halloween 1 and 2.
Sure.
Which I feel is like, that's the standard. She's part of the reason Final Girls became such a staple during the 80s, and then...
Well, I think she's the template.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And iconic. She's that character perfectly with the innocence and having to confront the endless evil. She really feels like a girl next door. And in the later movies, I love Jamie Lee Curtis. This is nothing about her, but middle-aged Laurie Strode doesn't have that youthful innocence, that charm that teenage Laurie Strode had. So those 2 movies, like that's kind of it for a Final Girl for me.
True. All right. Number 2 for me is my favorite Final Girl from the Nightmare series, Alice.
Okay.
Nancy is actually not on my list. I prefer Alice. I prefer Alice for a few different reasons. One being that she is the only Freddy girl to like walk away from it. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Billy Zane's sister walks away from 6, but who fucking cares about 6?
Right.
She walks away. She's the star of 2 of them in a row, and she walks away from both of them. And she has like the best arc. She goes from a complete nerd to like being a mother and a resourceful girl.
Right.
She has like fucking superpowers. Like, she can do like nunchucks, and she starts picking up other people's powers. So she's like this amazing like adversary to Freddy that we really haven't seen. Like, she picks everyone who dies, she picks up their powers. And it just keeps getting better and better. She's ultra cute. She hasn't like lost her looks with age too. If you look her up, Lisa Wilcox, and she's just I think she is the second best Final Girl of all time. Interesting.
You know, the powers, huge turnoff. Like, don't dig on chicks with powers. Didn't care for those Nightmare movies.
Yeah, whatever.
But Nancy Thompson from Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 3, and then playing herself as
Alice
Heather.
would whoop her ass.
Well, yeah, but like Alice and the Your Next Girl, they would whip pretty much the ass of everybody that's on my list because
men they would.
Because I didn't pick girls that were like, oh, I can kung fu because I'm Australian.
Oh, there's so much. Whatever.
So I guess I go for the vulnerable, like normal girls that are thrust into supernatural or horrible situations and then have to evolve or die. Now, Nancy beats out Laurie for me because I think she's a great final girl in the first.
What was it you said? Evolve or die?
Yeah.
And which does she do?
Well, then she does a little of both, actually.
One's a little more permanent.
Well, kind of. Then she comes back in 3, like not as really the star, but sort of more as like a savior type, and then, of course, playing herself. 3 different variations of the character.
True.
I love Nancy. Like I said, Laurie Strode. I think she's like the template for it, but got a soft spot for Nancy. She's my favorite.
Right. No. One thing that would really make me like Nancy a lot, and this seems like the natural conclusion that I like to believe, even though it's not canon in movies, is that comic book. I don't know if I ever showed you. A guy wrote a comic book where they always talk in 3 about the beautiful dream.
Right.
And so what his continuation was after 5 that Alice and her son Jacob start getting contacted. Well, Freddy's coming at them, but Nancy is now the opposite of Freddy.
Oh, okay.
She protects people in dreams.
Yeah.
And so she's
That's
now
a
this
natural level.
ethereal thing. That makes sense, and
it feels natural coming out of 3 as well.
100%.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, but since it's not canon, that's why she loses.
Sure.
But anyway, okay, so
that's my number 1. Now,
so it's me.
What's your number 1?
Sidney Prescott, baby.
Yeah.
Sidney Prescott. Not only is she resourceful as shit, witty as shit, very great actress, Neve Campbell playing her. She's survived 4 out of 4 times.
Yeah, she is.
And everybody always thinks she's going to be the villain, but she never is because
she's the damn
still
Energizer Bunny.
Good...
She just keeps on going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, Sidney, definitely the number 1 pick. She's a little bit absent in 3, but 3 is one that I think everybody kind of mostly disregards.
Yeah. I never hardly do honorable mentions on these. I just try to stick to my 5, but like she would definitely be the top of my honorable mentions for longevity. And like you said, she can act.
She's got to be. And she does the thing that I really like about the best female heroes that everyone seems to get wrong is people over tough female characters.
Exactly.
Ellen Ripley doesn't have that. Sarah Connor doesn't have that. She has a little bit of it in part 2, but not much. And Sidney doesn't have this, is that, they don't act like tough chicks.
Right.
They just are tough. And Sidney just keeps coming back for more. She runs away a bit in 3, but again, what are you going to do for 3? But especially...
she should have kept running from 3.
Yeah, but especially part 4, because I loved part 4 a lot. What I loved about her in part 4 is after, the running away, making peace in part 3... In part 4, the first time she comes face to face with Ghostface is when she runs next door to the one chick who gets all fucking blood all over every wall. She sees Ghostface and she runs right at him and just like knocks him down the stairs and starts kicking the shit out of him. I was like, fuck yeah, Sidney, like get some, baby.
You go,
again,
girl.
Joe Swanson. Yep. Okay, so number 1, Sidney Prescott. Number 1 was Nancy.
Yeah, I had Nancy. 2 very different lists from 2 very different perspectives on horror.
I like that though. That's nice.
Exactly.
That was not planned, but that's nice.
It's always better than when we have too many of the same names. But.
Yeah. Okay. So do we want to? If you had honorable mentions, Sidney would have been on there, but you don't really have any.
No. I mean, pretty much everybody you picked is like, even if they wouldn't have made my list.
Right? Didn't we base? Oh, well, no, we had a few crossovers, but.
But you know, the other ones you named are, you know, those are solid picks. You know, and I avoided, you know, any sort of boys. I know that there are some good males that fill that role of final girl, but I don't know. Figure we might save those for another show.
Yeah, we gotta save those. Just the name check, of course, Ellen Ripley, Mary Beth from Hatchet movies.
Yeah,
she's pretty cool, especially when she starts getting played by Danielle Harris. Marie from High Tension, because that fits into a subgenre of things. Alice from Friday the 13th, just a name checker. Sally. Kristen Parker from Dream Warriors and the beginning of whatever, just because she just won an Oscar.
Yeah.
Woo! I was so excited. I was commenting to everybody. I was like, a Dream Warrior won an Oscar. Has Lawrence Fishburne won an Oscar? But he's not technically a Dream Warrior. Lila Crane from Psycho, probably the first final girl. Alana, more Jamie Lee Curtis. I didn't add Prom Night because I don't like that one, but Terror Train was pretty good.
Yeah, Prom Night's terrible.
Jess from Black Christmas, Olivia Hussey. Mia from The New Evil Dead, Sherry Darling from Planet Terror. Some of my favorites that I really wanted to put on there were Mandy Lane and Jill from Scream 4. Those are my chicks right there.
Right.
Those are the final girls if I was a slasher, I want to go up against.
Okay. I see where you're coming from on that.
Yeah. Just a name check on all of those. And, all right, that was our top 5 final girls. Tell us how we were right, how we were wrong, which ones we left off. And send us any ideas for topics. Facebook.
Yeah,
Twitter.
Facebook or Twitter. Look through us on any social media. Fright Flicks. At Fright Flicks with the FLICKS. Until next time, this has been The Horror with Nate.
And Mike.